The acceptance letter lay in pieces on our kitchen floor, torn fragments of my future scattered like confetti at a funeral. My brother Marcus stood over them, his face twisted with a rage I'd seen too many times before. "You don't deserve Stanford," he spat, grinding a piece of the letter under his heel. "You must have cheated. There's no way you got in when I did it. I'm Alexandra Mitchell, and at 18, I just watched my older brother destroy the one thing I'd worked my entire life for." My hands shook as I knelt to gather the torn pieces of my acceptance letter, each scrap representing years of late-night study sessions, perfect test scores, and sacrifice social events. "Marcus, please," I whispered, trying to piece together the torn letterhead. "This was my only copy." "Good," he sneered. "Now you can't prove anything. Nobody will believe you got in anyway." Mom walked in just then, her eyes widening at the scene before her. Marcus immediately switched his expression, adopting the innocent look he perfected over years of getting away with everything. "Alex is lying about getting into Stanford," he said quickly, his voice smooth as honey. "She made a fake acceptance letter to make me look bad." I stared at him in disbelief. "Mom, that's not true. I really got in. I worked so hard for this." "Alexandra," Mom cut me off, her voice tired. "Why would you do something like this? You know how sensitive Marcus is about Stanford rejecting him." My throat tightened. Of course she'd take his side. She always did. Marcus was her golden child, the star athlete who could do no wrong. Even when he'd sabotaged my science fair project in junior year, she called it sibling rivalry and told me to be more understanding. "But Mom, I really did get in." I protested, holding up the torn pieces. "Look at the watermark, the official seal." "Enough," Marcus shouted, sweeping the pieces from my hands. "Stop trying to overshadow me for once in your life." Mom placed a hand on his shoulder, soothing him like he was the victim. "Honey, go calm down. I'll handle this." After he stormed out, Mom turned to me with that look I knew too well, disappointment mixed with exasperation. "Alexandra, you need to let this go. Your brother is going through a hard time. His rejection from Stanford hit him hard. So I'm supposed to hide my acceptance? Pretend I didn't get in because his ego can't handle it?" My voice cracked with emotion. "Family comes first," she said firmly. "Marcus needs our support right now. He's always been sensitive about academics, you know that." I laughed bitterly. "Sensitive? He's been sabotaging me since elementary school. Remember when he accidentally deleted my history presentation, or when he told everyone I cheated on the SAT because I scored higher than him?" Mom waved her hand dismissively. "You're being dramatic. Marcus would never intentionally hurt you. But he had, countless times, and now he destroyed the physical proof of my greatest achievement." What I hadn't told them was that I'd already emailed my acceptance confirmation to Stanford 2 days ago. The torn letter was just for our family announcement, an announcement that had gone horribly wrong. That evening, I sat in my room, carefully taping together the pieces of my acceptance letter. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Emma. "Did you tell them? How did it go?" I sent her a photo of the taped-together letter. Her response was immediate. "Your brother is a psycho. You need to tell the dean what happened." I hesitated. The thought had crossed my mind, but the consequences. Marcus was starting at Berkeley in the fall. If I reported this, it could affect his college career too. Another text from Emma. "Stop protecting him. He doesn't deserve it." She was right. For years, I'd stayed quiet about Marcus's behavior, always taking the high road, always being the understanding sister. But this time was different. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every achievement he tried to diminish, every success he'd attempted to steal. With trembling fingers, I opened my email and began composing a message to Dean Harrison at Stanford. I attached photos of the torn letter and started typing my story. Not just about today, but about the years of academic sabotage, the constant undermining, the way my family enabled his behavior. Just as I was about to hit send, Mom knocked on my door. "Alexandra? Marcus feels terrible about what happened. He wants to apologize." I looked at my phone, at Emma's last text. "Don't let them manipulate you again." "Tell him I'm busy," I called back, my finger hovering over the send button. "Don't be difficult," Mom sighed. "He's your brother. Family forgives." I closed my eyes, remembering every time I'd forgiven, every time I'd stayed quiet, every achievement I'd downplayed to protect Marcus's fragile ego. Not this time. I hit send. The next morning, my email notification chimed during breakfast. Dean Harrison's name appeared on my screen, making my heart skip a beat. Marcus glanced up from his phone, his eyes narrowing at my expression. "What's that?" "Another fake acceptance letter," he sneered. I ignored him, opening the email with trembling fingers. "Dear Ms. Mitchell, your email deeply concerns me. I would like to schedule a video call with you today at 2 p.m. to discuss this matter. This type of behavior has no place in our academic community. Best regards, Dean Harrison." Mom noticed my pale face. "Alexandra? What's wrong?" Before I could respond, Marcus snatched my phone. His face transformed from smug to horrified as he read the email. "You little snake," he shouted. "You reported me?" "Marcus, give her phone back." Dad finally spoke up from behind his newspaper. For once, he seemed to be paying attention to our drama. "She emailed Stanford about yesterday." Marcus's voice cracked. "She's trying to ruin my life." Mom rushed to his side, but Dad's response surprised everyone. "Like you tried to ruin hers by destroying her acceptance letter." The kitchen fell silent. Mom's mouth dropped open, and Marcus stepped back, looking betrayed. You saw that?" Marcus stammered. Dad folded his newspaper carefully. "I saw everything from my study. I've seen a lot of things over the years, Marcus. I just foolishly thought you'd grow out of it." "Robert," Mom protested, "you know how hard Marcus works." "No, Linda," Dad cut her off. "Our son doesn't work hard. He tears others down when they outshine him, and we've enabled it for far too long." I sat there, stunned. After years of silence, Dad was finally acknowledging the truth. "The video call is happening," I said firmly, "and I'm not lying for you this time, Marcus." The hours until 2 p.m. crawled by. I sat in Dad's study, waiting for the call. To my surprise, both my parents insisted on being present. Marcus locked himself in his room, sending me threatening texts about ruining the family. Dean Harrison's face appeared on screen precisely at 2 p.m. She was a stern-looking woman with kind eyes. "Ms. Mitchell, I've reviewed the evidence you sent. But there's something you should know." She paused, her expression grave. "Your brother Marcus applied to Stanford as well." "Yes, he was rejected," I said, confused. "No, Ms. Mitchell, he was accepted." The room fell silent. Mom gasped. "He received his acceptance letter 3 weeks ago. He chose to decline our offer and accept Berkeley's instead." My mind spun. Marcus had gotten into Stanford? Then why? Dean Harrison continued. "What concerns me more is that upon investigating, we found some irregularities with his application. Specifically, his essay about overcoming academic challenges was plagiarized." Dad leaned forward. "What?" "We normally would have rescinded his acceptance upon discovering this, but since he'd already declined, we simply noted it in his file." She looked directly at me. "However, his actions toward you, Ms. Mitchell, demonstrate a pattern of academic dishonesty that we feel Berkeley should be aware of." My stomach dropped. As much as Marcus had hurt me, I never wanted to destroy his future. "Please," Mom interrupted, tears in her eyes. "There must be something we can do." Dean Harrison's expression softened slightly. "We take these matters very seriously. However," she paused, "if Marcus agrees to certain conditions, including mandatory counseling and an ethics course before starting college, we might not need to inform Berkeley." Dad spoke up, his voice firm. "He'll do it. All of it." Just then, we heard a thud behind us. Marcus stood in the doorway, his face ashen. He must have been listening from outside. "You got into Stanford," I whispered. His shoulders slumped. I couldn't go there and watch you succeed. Everyone would compare us. They'd see that you're," he swallowed hard, "better than me." For the first time, I saw my brother without his mask of superiority. He looked small, scared, and desperately insecure. Dean Harrison cleared her throat. "Mr. Mitchell, would you like to join this conversation?" Marcus stepped forward, and for the next hour, we had the most honest family discussion of our lives. He admitted to years of sabotaging my achievements, driven by a deep-seated fear of being overshadowed. Mom finally confronted her role in enabling his behavior, and Dad acknowledged how his silence had hurt both his children. As the call ended, Dean Harrison gave us all a lot to think about. "Success isn't a limited resource," she said. "There's room for both Mitchell siblings to shine." Looking at Marcus's humbled expression, I realized this was a turning point. The question was, would this revelation lead to real change, or was it just another performance for my brother? The weeks following the video call brought changes I never expected. Marcus started his mandatory counseling sessions, and slowly, our family's dynamic began to shift. But trust isn't rebuilt overnight, and old habits die hard. One evening, I found Marcus sitting alone in the kitchen, staring at his laptop. On the screen was his plagiarized Stanford essay alongside the original source he'd stolen it from. "I didn't even need to do it," he said without looking up. "I had the grades, the extracurriculars, but I was so scared of not being perfect." I sat down across from him, keeping a careful distance. Years of his sabotage had taught me to be wary. "Why did you really turn down Stanford?" He closed his laptop, finally meeting my eyes. "Because I knew that if we both went there, everyone would see the truth. You're not just smart, Alex. You work harder, you're more genuine, and people naturally like you. I've always been." He paused, the fake one. It was surreal hearing these words from my brother, who'd spent years tormenting me. His counselor had suggested family sessions, and reluctantly, I'd agreed to attend one with him next week. Meanwhile, Stanford had become more than just my dream school. Dean Harrison took a special interest in my case, offering me a spot in their prestigious leadership mentorship program, an opportunity that wouldn't have come about if I hadn't stood up to Marcus. "I start the ethics course next week," Marcus said, breaking the silence. "Berkeley agreed to let me take it online before freshman year starts." Mom walked in then, carrying groceries. She changed too, no longer jumping to Marcus's defense at every turn. "I signed up for family counseling," she announced, setting down the bags. "Your father's coming too." The doorbell rang, and I heard Dad greeting someone. To our surprise, Emma walked into the kitchen. Marcus immediately tensed. She knew all about his past behavior. "I came to drop off the study group notes," Emma said, pointedly ignoring Marcus. She'd been my fiercest defender over the years, and forgiveness wasn't coming easily to her. "Actually," Marcus spoke up, "I want to say something to Emma too." He took a deep breath. "I'm sorry for telling everyone you cheated on the debate team last year. I was the one who accessed the opposing team's arguments early and used them." Emma's jaw dropped. The debate scandal had almost cost her team captain position. "You're admitting this now?" "I'm admitting everything now," Marcus replied. "The counselor says I can't move forward without owning my past actions." Emma looked at me, then back at Marcus. "Well, it's a start," she said carefully, "but actions speak louder than words." She was right. Over the next month, Marcus's actions began backing up his words. He wrote formal apologies to everyone he'd wronged. He confessed to teachers about past academic dishonesty. It was painful watching my brother dismantle his carefully constructed image, but there was also something admirable about it. The real test came during my Stanford orientation weekend. I'd been selected to give a speech as part of the leadership program, and to my shock, Marcus asked to attend. "You don't have to come," I said, remembering all the times he tried to overshadow my moments. "I want to," he insisted, "not to compete or sabotage. I want to see my sister shine." The day of the orientation, I stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. There was Dean Harrison, who'd helped turn my brother's attack into an opportunity. There were my parents, finally united in supporting both their children equally. And there was Marcus, sitting quietly in the back, simply listening. My speech was about resilience and authenticity, about standing up for yourself while leaving room for others to grow. As I spoke, I saw Marcus wipe his eyes. Afterward, Dean Harrison approached our family. "Mr. Mitchell," she addressed Marcus, "your progress reports from the ethics course and counseling are impressive. Perhaps in the future, if you maintain this growth, transfer applications could be considered." Marcus shook his head. "Thank you, but no. Berkeley is where I need to be. It's time for me to build my own path, not chase someone else's." That's when I knew my brother was really changing. The old Marcus would have jumped at the chance to follow me to Stanford to compete and compare. This Marcus was finally finding his own way. Later that night, he handed me an envelope. Inside was a new copy of my original acceptance letter, professionally restored. "I can't fix everything I broke," he said quietly, "but I can try to repair what I can." It wasn't a perfect ending. Real life rarely has those. Trust would take time to rebuild, and old insecurities wouldn't vanish overnight. But as I looked at my restored acceptance letter, I realized something profound. Sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't just change your life, it can help others find their way too.